talking about. That's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
Yo, 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 Max, how is that boat hunt going? Finding a boat online?
Damn,
Facebook
Re-
Marketplace?
you better
Craigslist,
get
maybe?
I read
get
a
to
couple
work.
pages in a book. I got that
Oh,
going for me.
okay. So read a book. You're kind of like at a 10% there going. Interested.
Something, a few pages. There's a complete, I guess I didn't say complete a book. I said read a book, but which I am doing. Um,
You gotta
Dude,
write a report
Goal
when you're done.
complete. Boom, done.
sorry, I can't go any further without talking about the Packers. I got to get
That's
some
fine. That's
shit off
fine.
my chest.
Yeah.
I want to hear from you guys. I haven't talked to you about the game at all. What?
I,
You guys got
I mean, I
anything?
don't know what there is to say. Well, shit,
There
plenty to say.
is.
Welcome back. First of all, Gus, hey, welcome back to Wisconsin. You were gone for a while. Good to see you. I haven't
Thanks.
talked to you. Probably, we haven't talked much at all last week. So good to see you. Brian, good to
Thank
see
you.
you
Thank you.
too. Yeah, maybe a
Hey,
little State of
hey.
the Union here. Saturday was a tough one. I went to a bar with a bunch of my Vikings friends,
Ooh,
and oh no, it was great. Stayed for the first half. They couldn't take it anymore. They said we got to get the hell out of
No
here.
way. They
Ready to
left?
call tonight. Well, look, we went to a place in the cities that's it's actually a Packer bar. And they also have bowling there. And so we were gonna go bowling, have a couple
hype.
pops. Got there pretty early, put our name in for bowling. Turns out, the crew size we had, we weren't getting on the lanes. All right. So unfortunately, no bowling, and what that left was just drinking. Rolled
Mm,
in probably 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's a lot of time before
that
kick,
ain't bad.
and was feeling pretty good by tip. And first half just rolling. Vibes were so good. Couldn't have been happier. Sitting next to a table of just some old Packer beauties. We were just having a grand old time, just rubbing it in all my Vikings friends' face, having a blast. And then they just said, look, we got to get out of here. We got hockey tomorrow morning. Men's league puck drop, 10 a.m. the next morning. All right, we'll be responsible. I'll go back home. I'll watch the Packers clean up business and, call it a night. Good time. So I go back home. Fiance falls asleep. Next thing I know, I'm just watching the fourth quarter of that game by myself in the living room.
What?
And let me tell you what, man, I
That would
went
be
to
a
a
dark
dark place.
place.
Dark place, you're
Jinx.
you're on the come down from drinking beer all afternoon,
Oh
just absolutely
man.
hype. It felt like when I left the bar, we had won the game. The game was already over as an
Yup.
afterthought.
Yeah,
And that's
just had
just a
to run
big
out the clock.
mistake. Big mistake. And I knew it. I said to my buddy right before he left, I said, this ain't over. I know it's not. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna watch this by myself, and I hope to God it doesn't become a one-score game because I'm gonna be freaking out. And not only did it not become a one-score game, but the Packers were were losing
Oh
at the
my
end of the
God.
game. And that final drive was just pure misery to watch. And I
Yeah.
don't know where they go from here, man. I mean, I'm all about this team. I think next year they're gonna be just fine if they stay healthy, but they never do. So
Yep.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
I had this talk today at work with numerous people, just fielding the opinions and the come down after the game. It's like, where do they go from here? Like, is Jordan Love Super Bowl caliber? I mean, I think he's got all the talent in the world. He might
Yes.
become a little bit of a mental midget in clutch situations at end of games,
No,
but
Disagree.
I think
fully
he's
disagree.
fully capable of winning a Super Bowl. But I feel like it's almost a Jalen Hurts situation with him, where he might need a world-class defense to help him, to help him win the Super Bowl. I don't think he's going to lead a banged up, average defense to a Super Bowl.
What
Uh,
average defense has won a Super Bowl in the past 15 years?
I mean, not every year that a team wins a Super Bowl are they like phenomenal defense.
I can't name one team in the last 15 years that's won a Super Bowl that hasn't been a top five defensive unit.
I mean,
The
yeah,
amount of
but
times
uh,
Kansas City, the amount of time Patrick Mahomes has gotten bailed out by his defense in the fourth quarter is insane.
Yeah,
Bucks when
but
Brady
those
were the Bucks when Brady won, that defense was maybe the best in the league.
I don't know. I think I agree you need a good defense, but I think you're exaggerating a little bit. My point is
Eagles, elite,
that
Niners every
Eagles
time they've
defense
been.
was like an all-timer. And my point is, it's just a discussion, is Jordan Love Jalen Hurts?
No,
He could be similar. Also, my other point is,
They have different names.
look, it came out
Ain't
today. It
the
looks like
same.
we're keeping LaFleur. You know
now
what?
you're
That's
now you're now you're onto something here.
I'm fine with that, but
Hmm.
he needs to give up play calling duties, just as Ryan Day did with the Buckeyes. You bring in an offensive guru, let him call the plays. You let LaFleur be just a head coach, and it did wonders for the Buckeyes. And I think it's pretty apparent it needs to happen with the Packers. LaFleur just looks panicky. Bad timeout calls, maybe not the best play calls in the second half. I think he
He's
needs to give
panicky.
up give up play calling.
Yeah.
He's really panicky, and it's tough because he's got enough of a great offensive mind to get him up by 3 scores. So you can't discount that point, and then it's just he's done it time and time again where we get into these tight situations, and it just feels like there's no rhythm, there's no base level of confidence that we're going to be able to burn 5 minutes of clock when they need to. It's like when there's no pressure
Well,
and
I like
you get into the games, like they're just free flowing, things are going good, and then it's like they get tight and it's like they can't do shit. They just
no. Well,
stop
I think that's his
functioning.
play calling. Like you said, burn 5 minutes of clock. Well, I think that's because their playbook goes to the burn 5 minutes of offensive clock playbook,
They
and
can't
that
do it.
playbook sucks. And like, was our offense moving the ball at will in the first half? And like we all said it, the people I was watching with at halftime, it's like cowardly play calling the second half. We're gonna struggle to score, and we're gonna let them creep back in it. And like, feels like tails old as time this year with the Packers. So
Yeah, and I don't understand how our defense too just goes from looking so great to then just it
yeah,
felt like there was zero chance. It's like when the Bears scored to take the lead, I was happy that they did it with a minute 40 left because I was like, one, LaFleur's an idiot for burning all those timeouts, so we didn't have much, ability to stop the clock. And then two, it's like I knew they were going to score. The last thing I wanted them was to milk another minute off the clock
yeah.
and score. It felt inevitable that they were getting that in the end zone, no matter how they did it. So it was kind of a blessing that we even got a chance at the end of the game to come back and win.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like it felt like in the second half, anytime they got the ball, like, can we
They're
hold
gonna
them to
score.
maybe a field goal? Like they're probably just going to
Yeah,
score a touchdown. And
yeah,
I don't know what to blame for that. Like I think Hafley's a great D coordinator. He's probably gonna be a head coach. Maybe it's a mixture of, Caleb Williams, who made some stellar throws. We got a few defensive penalties, helps them extend drives. They score. Now all of a sudden, momentum. I mean, their barn was rocking. So, I don't know if they just got our defense on their toes enough to where they exposed some
yeah.
gaps. I mean, we were playing a soft zone, and everything across the middle, especially for Colson Loveland, was wide open in the second half.
Yeah.
So,
Let the tight ends
Yeah,
just absolutely eat again, like the
yeah.
Packers always love to do against them, is insane. How many
I
tight
know.
ends have had great games?
We missed Tucker Kraft so much in that game. Like when we needed a third down or we needed six
Yeah.
yards,
Dude,
just felt like there was nowhere to go with the ball.
it
Yeah.
had to be like an
And
insane throw to like Dobbs or Christian off like the side and or something,
Yeah.
like way in the sidelines. Also, elephant in the room. Are we gonna address the fact that our special teams left 7 points on the table?
well, that's just inevitable in these playoffs. I'm
That's
baking
fair.
that in. You start the game -6,
Yeah.
-7 because of special teams. You know you're gonna miss a couple field goals. You're gonna miss an extra point when you need one. I mean, you just
I
you
mean,
can't make it
it's
up. I mean, it's
Uh,
crazy.
like
Honestly, all in all, like, whatever, who cares? My thing
Oh,
is we weren't gonna this team was not winning a Super Bowl.
yeah, our
At
seventh seed.
most you win one or two games in the playoffs.
yeah,
And I'd have been fine losing to Seattle. Who cares? We lose to Seattle, whatever, on the next year. But it's because of the Bears, and it's because I felt like we had a good chance to win, and we went into half up three
Yes.
scores. That's what fucking hurts.
yeah. I don't disagree. This team without Micah, without Wyatt, without Kraft,
Tom.
without Cooper, without Tom. Cooper got hurt. Probably not going to win the Super Bowl, but look at the Niners, what they did, and then you also start to think that Sam Darnold's your 1 seed in the NFC. Like It
Yeah,
was a pretty
it
damn
was an
good
open
year
year.
for there was
Yeah,
no boogeyman in the NFC that
no,
was like gonna
or the AFC for that matter. Like it's a pretty
yeah,
even.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer we got the injury plague again this year because yeah, I agree. Pretty
Speaking of
wide
the
open.
speaking of the Bears, what do you guys think of that post game handshake between Johnson and
Yeah,
LaFleur?
that's insane. I love
Crazy.
it. I love that
They got shorter and
LaFleur.
shorter.
I love that he has that beef because it's good to see some fire out of him and that he like really fucking hates him. But man, I can't see him getting big dog like that anymore.
Yeah. I I thought it was ridiculous. I think it's cool when the players do it, but
Yeah, I
when
mean
you
Ben Johnson is a squirrely. He is.
He's it, he gets a little too fired up with the players.
Yeah, I got some choice words
Boys,
for him. I'm not going to share in the pod.
let
yeah,
them out. It's
Nah, nah,
free
nah.
country. Say whatever you
No, you
want.
didn't need to hear that.
Nah, yeah, their handshakes throughout the season just got shorter and shorter. But his was more of a
Yeah,
drive by than what the
I mean
first two
it's
were.
started in
can't
the off
drive by
season.
it. Can't drive by after you win a playoff game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's
you
one
gotta
thing if we
embrace it.
won,
You
but
gotta tuck
like
that in.
just to be a sore winner too. Tough.
It's freaking it's juvenile.
Yeah.
Whatever. Sour grapes.
Whatever.
On to next
We're
year.
beyond that.
Gus, like I said, welcome back, buddy. Where were you at last week?
I was at the I think it was called the Detroit Ultimate Fishing Show with shout out Hooked and Tagged, um, clothing outdoor apparel brand. If you haven't heard of them, I'd check that out. They got location at Eagle River, Minocqua. Um, Mr. Clayton Spees is with me. And then the owner,
Shout out.
Tom Zidek. We ran the booth, got to see some Mott listeners in Detroit. Shout out. That was pretty neat at a
No
fishing
way.
show. Yeah, yeah. Met a few that have found me after Tom posted on Hooked and Tagged that Clayton and I were there. And then a guy bought a musky hat, and I'm like, oh, musky fisherman. He's like, yup. Like St. Clair, this and that. They're like, yeah, I fish there, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you listen to podcasts? He's like, yeah, we listen to some podcasts. I'm like, you listen to Muskies on Tap? Like, yeah, we listen to Muskies on Tap. I'm like, this guy in the crew.
Uh, that's cool.
So shout out.
Shout out.
That
Were
was pretty
they
neat.
were they guys that were like most of the people that you met that listened, were they Michigan people or were they
Yeah.
kind of from all over?
Yeah, Michigan locals at least from when I talked to them, they live in Michigan now. Um, didn't dive in deep enough if that's where they're from or if they've I know some of them go to the Midwest. Actually, some of them have traveled through Eagle River area and sometimes visit, so that was pretty neat. Had a blast doing that. So good to meet some new people. Work that show. But yeah, we what about you guys? Anything new? Also, welcome back to episode Did Not Look in Advance. I'll get that later. But either way, Brian, what's new with you?
Not a whole heck of a lot. Spent both nights of the weekend watching football. Both on and off. Hit the golf simi again, which I've been doing a lot more than I did last year.
Hmm.
Didn't think
Nice.
I would, but it's like why go to a regular bar, if you can go, 3, 4 o'clock, 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the afternoon, hit some balls, have some drinks, watch a game, kind of best of both worlds. So yeah, that's kind of the
It's a nice little Sunday.
yeah, nice yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Max,
that's
what
what I
about
was
you?
on. Excited to watch Indiana in the
Oh,
national championship. That'll be
oh
pretty
yeah.
crazy, pretty
That was a good
wild.
game to watch while I was gone. We didn't touch on that at all, but college
Yeah, I
football,
was shocked. They
pretty
just
wild.
absolutely dominated them from 10 seconds in. Pick six to start it and off to the races.
Yeah, that was nuts. That was nuts.
Yeah.
That
Max,
was a good one.
how about you? Anything else new?
No, just still pissed off about the Packers. Other than that, been skating a couple times a week, men's league in full force, Pondy league in full force. So been getting a bunch of hockey in. Sunday morning that first shift. Yeah, we were going balls to the wall trying to get some anger out. So
That
it was
boy,
a
that
good
boy.
good time.
Don't get hurt out
Um,
there now.
yeah, no, man, we had yeah, just man, this last weekend made me want to re back invest in the old cage on the helmet. I've been rocking the half shield lately and
Ooh, getting
had a
some
guy had a guy
flybys.
catch a skate blade between the eyes. That was not a
What?
yeah,
Was it
yeah,
bad,
not a
bad,
fun.
or like lucky, nothing too bad, or
Lucky nothing too bad. I mean, it missed all the important stuff, but
holy shit.
yeah, it was a little dicey. Happened about 5 feet in front of me,
Oh
and watched it all
man.
happen in like slow motion. And um,
Men's league or
Woo.
Pondy?
Pondy,
What?
I would get
Dang.
that
Because
crazy.
face mask back
I was
ASAP.
gonna rock no lid again this year for Pond Hockey Weekend in Eagle River, but I might have to rethink that because I rock full cage on Sunday nights.
Yeah, I rock no bucket and Pondy. Usually it's fine, but like even the half shield in men's league, I mean, my buddy took a puck to the face last year and he had to get stitches. And then, that is what it is, kind of a freak accident, not I'm not really, I'm not out there blocking pucks, so I'm not
No,
getting
no,
into the
no.
dirty areas. I'm not, but
Yeah.
like the pond thing was kind of a freak accident where I was like, oh man, that was kind of sketchy.
Did the guy
So
get checked or did
Yeah.
he just like fall or what?
no, he went to go try to split the defense, and both guys kind of like
Sandwiched him?
not sandwiched him, but they kind of just like both stick checked him at the same time, and he ended up falling forward. And then as the one guy's like momentum kind of carried him into the guy, he started falling forward as the guy was like falling, face first. And while he was falling face first, he was trying to obviously keep his balance. And I think one of his feet just kind of got kicked
Oh
up in
yeah,
the air, and the
yeah.
guy's face was at like hip level,
Mm.
one of
Damn.
the defensemen's, and it just caught him right between the eyes. So
Whew.
That's scary.
yeah, and I was like
Super
watched it
sketch.
all happen. I'm like, oh fuck, oh fuck.
Come on.
I'm like, oh man. So,
Yeah.
but no, things are good. Work's busy. Not really too much to update on the fishing front. I think we're at this point pretty much waiting to get up to Eagle River when we do our big ice fishing tournament in February. I think that might be the next time I fish. I was thinking about going down to Iowa and meeting up with our buddy Ryan Becker and doing some ice fishing, but we'll see how that looks with the weather and whatnot. So
Back
other than
no.
that, man, it's been nothing too exciting on the fishing front, unfortunately. On a couple, got my eye on a couple baits that I've been seeing that I do not have in the box. So getting excited for the
I
shows.
got a feeling it's gonna be a bad year for me at show season just because
Really?
now I got a little bucket to fill up.
Right.
Got some
Spend
Totally.
this little
spaces.
box waiting to show from the Gus's. So
Hey, don't forget you got a few up here, brother.
I
Come
know,
on.
I know, I know.
I'm keeping them safe and dry for you.
Well, like Max said, we got a while to wait for ice fishing, which is, whatever, great time, not the fishing we love. Got a really long while till regular fishing is back. But no better way to kind of keep us motivated than to have on Mr. Mike Keys with Keys Outdoors. He'll be coming on here shortly with us. Super excited for this interview. Been watching
Yep.
him. I'm sure you guys have heard us mention him a lot. Been talking Mike Keys on here for a while. We grew up kind of watching him, been watching him for years, kind of used him as motivation during our Bender weekends. So super excited to get to chat with him.
I should have texted you guys before we hopped on to record tonight, but if it doesn't get brought up in the interview, and it might, but I wanted maybe before he came on for us to all go around and share maybe one of our favorite episodes or what something
Mm,
favorite catches or episode of Keys Outdoors that I'm sure
Mm,
people will probably remember if they've been watching for as long as we have.
I mean, top of the list are just his celebrations. Um, top tier. I don't think anybody comes close to Mike on that. The one that really comes to mind, I think, is probably his most famous, is his big Lake St. Clair fish when he just drops to his knees, just goes, yes, yes, yeah. That's a good one. Absolutely love that one. Dude, I don't know.
I don't remember the my favorite episode. I think I've watched it two or three, four or five times. And I'm trying to find the exact title, but he went fly fishing I believe up in Hayward. I want to say it was probably like 4 or 5 years ago.
They did like the fall drifts with like suckers, and they
Yeah, and they
kind
fly
of fly
fished that
fish.
small like
Yeah,
down a river.
those ones are nostalgic for me. I feel like
Yeah.
we watched those probably the most out of any, especially in those years we went to Hayward, and we'd have some, you know, old school Bender pre-podcast weekends
Oh,
out over
yeah, here it
there.
is. Musky fishing small Wisconsin rivers, episode 7 from 6 years ago.
Yeah. I think my favorite is probably around that time. I don't know if it was the same season, but it's another one when they go to Hayward. I think it's called like a good fashion muskie hunt or something like
Yeah,
Good old
that, and it's
fashioned
going
musky
on.
same
hunt.
here.
That was my favorite episode. It's they're up there during I think the fly fishing tournament that they put on in the Hayward greater area, and they were fishing with Ben Olson and Dave Brown,
Yeah, D Brown's in it.
um and they were fishing lakes for that episode. But that was probably one of my favorites, and
Is that D Brown catches a giant?
he does, and
Yes.
yeah, they all I think they all catch some nice ones, and some good redemption in that one, and then really any of the Vermilion videos that they've done, I think were good
Yeah.
springboards for our adventures up there and excitement to get up on that lake too. He's had some great Vermilion episodes as well, so
Yeah, it'll be cool to talk about his videos and then, obviously where he's come from, how did he get into it? I'm excited to hear his background and get to know him a little bit more and outside of just what you see on his YouTube channel. So hopefully we'll peel back the layers and reveal the true Mike Keys tonight.
I'm absolutely looking forward to it. I think we're gonna fire that up. We probably got more to chat on actually. You do have the Chicago Muskie Expo. We will not be attending, but definitely go check out the Huntsy Tales booth. Our boys, Kyle, Jamie, Taylor, Clayton, those
Is our
boys will
show
be
color
down
there?
there. Our show colors are there.
Oh
The first
shit.
place you'll be able to get them. Zugfest, Mott Moonman.
Are we gonna be able to discuss the data on that? How many units we sell with the color?
Dude, I don't know. I mean, it might be a competition like last year who can sell it first. Taylor won at Wausau with his guarantee, but I think at Milwaukee, um, before Taylor came out with the guarantee, Suggs Juice Box dominated entirely.
That's gonna be crazy if the mod color, the Moon Man doesn't win. That's gonna be a damn shame.
Are you praying on his downfall
No,
already?
no, no.
Dude, I'm thinking that Jungle Juice will win. That's basically a Flowage Green version of Juice Box.
yeah, it's like
No,
a Suggs juice box but better.
I
that's
know.
crazy.
I honestly agree. I'll be
Eh,
using the living daylights out of that next
I
to
saw that. I'm
Sugfest.
like,
Come on.
cop, cop,
Cop, not drop. Cop, not drop.
cop.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely look for that if you're going to the Chicago Muskie Expo. But we'll get Mr. Keys on. We'll have our interview this week sponsored by Thorn Bros. Go check them out. They'll be at Chicago Muskie Expo as well. So
Stop by the
without further
booth.
ado, let's get Mr. Keys on. All right, everybody. We are super pumped to have Mr. Mike Keys on the pod here tonight. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy winter of editing up the Keys Outdoors show for us. So, Mike, how you doing tonight?
Good, good. So, yeah, good. It's the grind time right now. It's all about the edit right now. So all these shows that we shot last year, I don't really dive into them until around Christmas. And then and I don't like to look at a lot of the footage prior to that because things get deleted by accident and things get goofed up. So I just put it into files, backup, 3 files, 3 different areas. One year, I ended up my computer crashed and I ended up losing a half a season. And I was like on suicide watch.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
Unreal.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask you because Gus has even had it with just video footage and stuff where it's just like, where did it go? And you know, just somehow gets
Right.
deleted. I
just
was
like,
gonna say
I
if
don't
you've
know.
had some terrible
Yeah.
experiences with that.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's, I mean, now technology is so much better. I mean, when I started, I bought Apple's first Mac and that was $10,000.
What?
Jesus.
Right, right.
No way.
Yeah, for an editing suite, it was 10 grand. Um, and everything was on dial-up. There was no, the internet was just getting going. And so and everything was tape. There was no digital. So it was very, very time consuming. And yeah, I mean, it's so much easier now.
It sounds like it's still pretty time consuming. You said before we started recording, sun up to sundown editing. I mean,
Yep.
how long total does one video take you to edit?
Every video is different, but I'm creating my own music. So that takes a big chunk of time. On average, about 50 hours, I'm going to say,
Yeah.
around that. So that's putting I'm shooting with so many cameras. So what I'll do is after a shoot, I'll sit down and it's like Skycam 1, Skycam 2, Rail Cam 1, Rail Cam, and then just getting everything in sync so that I can go in. And so I'll set up what I do first is I put my timeline down and off the main camera because that's the accurate time. And then I go into my catches and then it's putting all those pieces together so that it flows. So it is very time consuming. But I've got it down to a science now, but and I'm adding more cameras as we go. So it's like,
Hmm.
I mean, why not? I mean, and I've had it to where you rely on a camera and stuff happens, man. And it's like, thank God I had two other cameras running.
Right.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have caught that footage. And you guys know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
especially with GoPro. I'm shooting DJI now, and they are a hell
Yeah.
of a lot more reliable than the GoPro. They still, it was funny because everybody's like, oh yeah, they don't overheat. No, they do, dude. You know what I mean? When we're out there and it's
They-
90 degrees with no breeze, I don't care what camera you've got, it's overheating. So then what do
Yeah.
you do? You got to shut down,
Yeah.
I mean, when filming dictates you're fishing, I have never in my whole life, and this guy, except for ice fishing, have I ever fished for muskies without filming. Not one day, not 1 minute of my whole life, ever. Because I
Really?
know the minute I don't bring that camera,
Oh yeah, it's gonna go
something
crazy.
magic's gonna happen, and I will not live with myself because it was like,
Yeah.
dude, why didn't we have that going?
Yeah.
So it consumes, and it's funny because over the years, I've filmed with a lot of people and they see the camera thing, they think it's really cool, and they're like, I'm buying cameras, man, I'm doing this. And then about 2 weeks later, they're selling their shit. You know what I mean? It's like I am not doing this.
Yeah.
You have to be, and that's another rule that we have in the boat. When we roll up on a spot, you take a cast before I have those cameras going, you're going to go swimming. You know what I mean? Because I've had that so many times where in the past where a guy will launch out, I'm setting cameras up, and all of a sudden, I got one, and no cameras are running. So it's like that
Yeah.
is the rule. It's like we don't throw a cast until I say, let's go.
Yeah.
So it just consumes my whole life. I mean, it's good, don't get me wrong, but it's weird that way. So it is what it is.
Do you think there'll be a day when Mike goes musky fishing without a camera?
Never. No,
Love
no.
that answer.
Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, when I retire and I'm not getting paid to do it, then then I would do it for sure. And even with my grandkids, I've got 10 grandkids now, and they're all getting at that age where they're getting older. They're gonna want to fish, but I'm still rolling camera with them because, like I said, I want to capture that. If my grandson or granddaughter catches their first fish, how
That'd
cool
be
is
sweet.
that to have it on film, for them? So So yeah, and you get conditioned to it. After a while, it really doesn't become what can I say? It doesn't become a hassle. It's just you're so programmed to it that it's a part of your life, you
Mhm.
know. So yeah, so it's you guys know, you guys do it, so you know how it is, man. You want to capture that footage,
Ah,
Light dabble.
yeah, not quite as
right?
Light
good as
Right.
dabble.
Will. But so yeah, we'll get into all the past stuff, and we got a bunch of questions for you on past episodes and whatnot. But I do want to just quickly hit. So you've dropped 2 episodes so far this season. Both are great. I want to hear a little bit about what your time was like down in West Virginia. For those of you guys
Or
that haven't,
Virginia.
Yeah,
yeah,
Virginia.
sorry, Virginia. Yeah, for those of you that haven't seen the episodes yet, you guys took a trip down south last winter and looked like it was a lot of fun. I mean, that was some pretty cool, unique fishing for sure.
My second time to Virginia, uh, um, Sam just rocks that whole system. I mean, he's dialed more than anybody, and he does a lot of, but it's very this time of the year. It's the weather's really on you. It's if you it doesn't take much to blow those rivers out, and you just can't fish them. So time down 4 years ago with Ben Olson, we literally only fished out of 3 days, maybe a half day.
Oh, do we lose
Nope.
it?
There
You're
you're
Nope.
back?
back.
Now you're back.
Yeah, what weird. So yeah, we only were able to fish maybe a half or 3/4 of a day, solid because of the situation. You know what I mean? It just it's very mountainous and they get a lot of rain. It just will go up and it will turn chocolate and you're done. So if a person is going out there to fish, what I would recommend is make sure that you book enough days because especially this time of the year with the storms coming in and out, you're probably going to lose a day or two of fishing. So just prepare for that. Now, on the other hand, if you're hiring Sam Scott, he's so booked. It's like, for him to give up 4 days to go with me was like, you know, was like he's that booked. So it was good, but yeah, that's what I would recommend if you go out there. It's cool, man. It's some of the best. I've fished pretty much all over the United States and Canada. And I would say that Virginia probably ranks right up there with some of the coolest terrain in the Musky Range. You got mountains, you've got cliffs, you've got beautiful clear water when it isn't blown out. So it's super cool. I definitely would recommend that on a bucket list to go out there and do that. Super cool.
When is the Virginia like prime season to get down there? Because I mean, you guys did well from what I saw in the videos. Is like winter typically, one of their better times to go, or
If you're looking for the biggest fish that you're going to catch weight wise, and yeah, because they're right now they're holding their eggs
yeah.
um, up until spawn. But he does very well out there in summertime too, before it gets too hot.
Hmm.
Virginia is south of us, so there comes a time where he just stops musky fishing. Like a lot of those, like Kentucky, Tennessee, they're just done at a certain time because your water temps are so warm.
Yeah.
But this is his prime time right now. So this is when you can catch a really big fish out there weight wise that you're going to have all year because as it gets till spawn. So I would say February, March would be that time. April is when their water temps are going to hit and they're going to start dropping their eggs and doing the spawn. So I would say February and March is a really good time to get down there if you're looking for a big fish, heavy fish.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Does he lose a big chunk of his season when the water gets too warm, or is he typically just off for a few weeks, like in August?
Yeah, I mean, he shuts down. This year he wanted to come out by me, and it just didn't happen. So next year I think we're going to do it because Sam has fished his whole life on rivers, a little bit of lakes. They only have a couple out there. and he'll use those. He'll go to those if things are blown out. But which is super cool. They're really cool lakes. They're not huge by any means, but they manage it right. I mean, they do a good job out there in Virginia. They
Yeah.
got a good program.
Yeah, it's pretty neat to see. I've been following Sam Scott for a while now, many years, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, everything. He posts all sorts of stuff. His boat's sick for starters,
Right?
running
I
that thing
know.
over.
Yeah.
He ran over some pretty shallow rapids, I assume,
Oh
in
my God, dude. It
full
was
tilt
like, yeah, I mean, you clinch, you know what I mean? You pucker up real hard because
while
you're
Yeah.
going,
filming
holy
too.
shit, we're going 35 miles an hour in 5 inches of water, you know? But he
It's
knows the
unreal.
river, and like any jet boat, um, you know, once you learn how to read the river, it's, you just get accustomed to it. You know what I mean? It's no
Mhm.
different than Noah Bensfield when I go at him on the Mississippi. You know what I mean? That's some skinny water there too.
Mhm.
But and I'll never forget, this is a funny story. We were there on the Mississippi River with Noah, and we're fishing, and all of a sudden I go, "Holy shit, is that Jimmy Linder?" And I go, "Jim," and he's like, "Is that Mike Keys?" And he comes over. We don't have a graph on our boat. First thing he does is he's looking at the boat, and he goes, "Where the hell is your graph?" And Noah points to his head and goes, "Right here." And he could not believe that he was running that river without a graph. It was,
That's
and he ran it. We never hit once.
that's impressive.
Very impressive. You know what I mean? But them are river rats. Them guys,
Yeah.
they live it every day. They know it. They're in and out on it every day. So they get accustomed to it and they know how to run their boats really good. So
Would
very
you
cool.
consider yourself a river rat at heart?
Yes. Yeah, I would say that because I love the camping end of things. The next two episodes coming up is a trip that I did in northern Wisconsin, a river. Started out on some lakes with my jet boat and raised a lot of fish and some really nice ones, but I just could. The water clarity was so clear. It was over the 4th of July weekend. And the water clarity was super clear, and I brought no lights for fishing at night, which if I would have done that, I probably would have had success. But then from there, I moved to a river system. And then once I got on the river system, moved a lot of fish and then ended up catching two really nice fish. But I like the river system because I like to camp. I like the adventure of wilderness and I, I mean, me personally, it's weird. I mean, like if I go anywhere, I feel more comfortable like in a sleeping bag. So, and that's just me. I get bored. I don't know how guides can do it, like on if they're doing like one or two lakes or three lakes. And I would get so bored with that.
Mhm.
Like I just couldn't do it. I would be like, no, you know what I mean? And I get it, they're doing it not really because they want to, it's just they're getting paid to do it. So they're going to put all of that knowledge to their benefit because at the end of the day, they got to put fish in the boat for their clients.
Hmm.
And I've been doing this be 26 years. And what I've realized over the years is that it's not about big fish, man. It's about the adventure. It really is. And when I came to that, like these episodes coming up, I shot a whole episode where I went to a river that I don't think it's ever been filmed before. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. 32 miles long, 5 sets of rapids that I could not get up or down, and then a set of waterfalls, literally waterfall. And so it was no fish, but I spent 7 days. And what it was just setting the roots this year so that now when I go back, I know where I can go, what I can do, a lot of private land, no public access. So I had to get to know people. I had to knock on doors. Had some weird stuff, you know what I mean? Like met a lady
That's
that
crazy.
they told me, they were like, oh yeah, she has a bar down here. She's got a landing. Maybe you could go in there. So I go into the bar and I says, hey, I says, I hear you guys got a landing to get on this section of the river. Can I get on that? And she looks at me and she goes, yeah, you got to take my son. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't know this lady. I
Yeah.
just met her and she's kind of dumping her kid on me. I
Yeah.
have no idea how old this kid is. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, lady, I could be a mass murderer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're just willy-nilly just saying, here, you got to take my son. You
Well,
know,
that's nice.
I backed out of the deal. One,
Good idea.
I don't want to ever be in that position. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
And two, if something were to happen, I'd be liable for it.
Yeah.
So it was like, but she should, when I said no, and that's the excuse I used was insurance.
Yeah.
She shut me down so quick. It was like, boom, get the hell out of my bar.
Oh my.
No, seriously, for real. It was like,
Oh,
okay, well, that didn't
wow.
go so well, you know?
I
So
don't.
yeah, it was weird. So then I ended up going into resort that was on the system that I was fishing. And I went in there for lunch and to ask, and a bunch of guys came in. It must have been their lunchtime. And they came in, and I noticed the guy was wearing a Thorn Brothers hat. So I was like, that's my dude right there. So I walked up to him. He turned around. He's like, Mike Keys, what are you doing here? And I says, man, I'm trying to figure out this river. And he's like, really? And we were going on, and I was like, I can't get on it on this part, this section. I've been on 2 sections of it out of 4, but I can't get on this one. He says, listen, let me make some phone calls. So he gets on his phone, calling a bunch of people. We're eating our lunch. He comes up to me and he goes, all right, tomorrow morning I got you in. I said, meet me here. He goes, meet me here, and I'm going to go with you. And I said, that's cool. You know, I mean, I could tell that he knew what he was doing. So we got on that stretch of the river. Beautiful. We moved a couple fish, didn't catch any. But again, my knowledge now of that section of the river is up here and all graphed out on my graph. So that's what it was is, and a lot of people don't see that. They think that, and you guys know this, they think that every time we go out, we catch fish. And it just, that's not reality. You know, they don't see the, again, 7 days from sun up till sundown of, I mean, it's sleeping in the dirt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Having a drug deal go down where I'm camping. They thought I was the drug guy. And at 2 in the morning, a truck pulls in, beeps the horn. I've got my rooftop camper. I stick my head out and I'm like, I'm scared. I'm out in the middle of fucking nowhere. And I'm like, can I help you? Yeah, Charlie sent us. And I says, okay, who's Charlie? You know, and they were totally confused. They were looking for meth at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so now I
Holy
gotta tell them
shit.
I'm not the dude. They take off, and now I've got to sleep all that night with one eye open. In there, just so it was pretty weird. It was so yeah. These are the things people don't see. You know what I mean? And you know, call it an addiction because it probably is. But that's what I like. I like the unknown. I like the you don't know what's going to happen.
I think we can all relate to that. Like we were just talking about, you know, opener already. And for me, like going to fish a brand new lake, you know, that Gus doesn't have experience on, which is rare at this point, is just as exciting as, you know, hooking up. It's like, all right, what's
Right?
out here? What are we gonna find? You know, is it a fun lake to fish? Like all those things are cool to uncover.
Exactly.
I
And
was
that's
gonna.
what it's about.
I was gonna ask you, Mike. I mean, I don't know if there's a good answer to this, but what kind of bug do you got that makes you want to do this stuff, do you think? I mean, seriously, because like thinking about, 7 days fishing, exploring new rivers, like in doing it, like you just said, for 26 years. I mean, we're not talking about, a post-retirement crisis situation here. I mean, this has been something you've been doing for a long time, and just to do it year after year is it's impressive. But I got to know, like, what kind of keeps you going?
I've always been that way. I was never good at school. I was the kid always looking out the window going, what am I doing here? I could be out there, you know.
Mhm.
And then, so I've always had the adventure. I grew up with some really cool kids that they were into the same thing, bow hunting, camping, a lot of winter camping. 20 below out, we'd go out. We were all about surviving and all that stuff. We bought good gear. I was set to walk the Pacific Crest Trail from Mexico to Canada.
Oh,
And
yeah.
at that time, there was only one other person that did it, and he wrote a book on it. And I met him down at Marquette University. I'm from Southeast Wisconsin. So I went down there because he was speaking at the university, and his name was Eric Rayback. And so I met with him, and my nephew and I kind of planned out 26 drops. We were going to do the whole thing. We were conditioning ourselves, bought all the gear. And then I fell in love. I went to a party, met my wife, and fell head over heels. And my nephew never forgave me for that. But that's what it was. So we never did it, but we were ready to do it. And then when I got married, I was 2 weeks into my honeymoon, and one of my buddies that I grew up with went to Alaska, and he was up in Alaska, and he called me to, congratulate me and Lori for getting married, and stuff. And she could tell. And she looked at me when I got off and she said, "When are you going?" I said, "I want to leave tomorrow." She goes, "How much money do you need?" I said, "Give me $200. So it took me 9 days, 21 rides to get to Alaska from here. So then I went right from there into the bush, and I lived, because that's what he had. He got a job breaking in a fish camp and bear camp on the Rocky River. And, that's what we did. We went in and we lived in the bush and broke in this camp for the whole summer. And then I went back the next year. She came with me then. And she lived out in the middle of nowhere in Homer, Alaska, no running water. His wife and my wife, well, we were in the bush. And so the adventure thing has always been in my blood. And that's just how I'm wired. And, I wouldn't be where I'm at, and I couldn't do a lot of things that I've done over the years if it wasn't for my wife understanding that. And we dated for 5 years. I said, "If you're going to try and tame me, ain't going to happen. That's just not happening." And she got it. And so they say behind every man, there's a good woman. And that's true. I mean, she understood that this is who I am. This is the way I'm wired. Her parents think I'm nuts. I mean, can you imagine 2 weeks into my honeymoon and I leave and they're like, "Where did he go?" "Oh, he went to Alaska." I mean, these are German heritage, get a job at a factory, put your 35 years in, and don't look back. And then I come and I've got the long hair, the earrings, you know what I mean? The bad boy, you know what I mean? I thought I was dating a girl from the Brady Bunch. You know what I mean? It was like so crazy, dude. But, I think so. Answering your question the long way around is I've always been wired for that, for adventure. I mean, it just, and I've always said this, dude, we only get one shot at this. You know what I mean? You only got one shot at this whole thing. And so you got to do what makes you happy. And I was able to do what I love to do and provide for my family. And that was the thing. Everybody's follow your dreams. Yeah, I get that. But when the dream becomes to where everybody else is sacrificing, and then, you got to just sit there and go, "Well, I tried, But I was lucky enough because timing was everything back then. We didn't have the internet, so there was the only media forms out there when I started was TV, magazines, and that was radio. That was about it. And there wasn't a lot of people doing it. So I got in at a right time. It cost a lot of money. The first 3 years, I lost my butt on it. Cost me a small fortune. The third year, I couldn't even buy a Christmas tree. And it was Christmas, 3 little girls. And I looked at my wife, I said, "I'm done. I can't do this. It's not fair to you guys, and it's not fair to them." I said, "So I'm going to just go get a job and do what I got to do." And she said, "You're not quitting." She goes, "You gave 3 years of your life to get here." She goes, "Let's give it one more year." That year, I ended up signing Musky Innovations, which was a big sponsor. I ended up getting Jack Daniels, which was crazy. And back then, and I State Farm Insurance. I'm the only fishing show out there that I know of that has had 3 Fortune 500 companies that nobody would call on them. Everybody was sticking to the fishing industry. You know what I mean? And those guys get bombarded and beat up every day. So I was like, I got to think out of the box. Well, guess what? Nobody's called on State Farm Insurance. So I called on State Farm Insurance. I called Jack Daniels. It took me almost a year to get them. Every Monday at 9 o'clock, I would call him and I would leave a message. He never answered his phone. Finally, when I landed him, we were out, we became really good friends. I had them for 12 years and we became super good, close friends. And I asked him one day when we were in the water, I said, "Butch, why me?" He said, "Mike," he goes, "when I finally answered my phone, it wasn't to say I'm in. It was to say, dude, you don't get it. You've been calling me for a year and you just don't stop. You don't get it. I'm not returning your phone call." He said, "I started to dial your number to chew your ass." And he said, "I put the phone down." And he said, "This is exactly the dude I want working for me. The guy who never quits." You know what I mean? Called me up and he said, "Send me the contract. We're in." And so that was something that, in business, everybody thinks you got to wear a lot of hats. And probably the most important thing that people overlook in our industry is the sales. Without the sales, you have nothing, unless you're mega rich and you're going to want to just do this. You got to generate money. You have to. This stuff is really expensive. So I was always a gifted salesman. You know what I mean? And I think that's first. Everything else falls in place because without the money, it doesn't matter how good of a filmmaker you are. It doesn't matter how good of a songwriter you are or whatever profession you're going to be in. Without that sale, nothing happens. That's the one who pays your bills. That's the one who says, "Okay, here's a check. I believe in you. Here's some money to operate." So I learned that because my dad was an entrepreneur, had his own business. So at the age of 13, I learned how to sell. And so that helped a lot. And I wasn't afraid. People are afraid. It's like, what do I got to lose? You know what I mean? So I got Jack Daniels, I got Shakespeare. That third year, up until then, I was paying for airtime. And airtime on Fox at that time was like $25,000 a year. So it was super expensive because they were the only game in town. And so that third year, all of it just came in. And it was like, oh my God, this is really happening. And then it was from there, I did 26 episodes a year. But at that time, I did multi-species. So I did hunting videos. I did, 26 shows of different, ice fishing. And then how I got into the musky fishing is I was filming a episode out in North Dakota, ice fishing. And there was an old guy out there and he was like smoking everybody. Like he was out fishing everybody. So I was like, all right, dude, I gotta put the camera on this guy. So I sat there and got to know him. And he said to me, he goes, "Have you ever fished for muskies or have you ever filmed muskies?" I said, "No, I never have." He said, "Do you want to?" I said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "I got these two brothers from Poughkeepsie, Wisconsin, Eric and Steve Jensen." And he said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'm going to set you up with them." So they give me the number. Steve calls me. We have cell phones, we got landlines. Calls me up. We set everything up. I go up there and we're on Deer Lake. And that's where we're going to film our first episode. So I go there and we're supposed to meet like at 7 a.m. I'm sitting in the parking lot where we're supposed to meet and no show. And I'm like, what the hell? Hour goes by, hour and a half goes by. I notice though that there's two dudes sitting in a pickup truck. And I'm like, well, that's gotta be them. So I get out, we've never met. I'm driving a Geo Metro 3-cylinder car. They never expected. They're thinking they're hooking up with this TV guy and going to roll in with a souped up truck with all this. I'm driving a Geo Metro. So here we sat right next to each other in the parking lot, looking at each other, and no one was going to ask each other if that was a dude. And so I get out, we go out, and at that time, I didn't fish. I just ran camera. And Steve and Eric were dialed, you know what I mean? And so about a 38 incher came in, went around 10 times, and then ate Steve. And I filmed the whole thing. And back then, the cameras were huge. And I filmed the whole thing. And it was like, I was immediately like, just holy shit, you know what I mean? What just happened? And so then it was like, okay, well, when are you guys going out again? And then it became more and more. And then I kind of left everything, all the other stuff behind, because I came from the hunting industry, where I started before the TV thing. I was in the hunting industry, and I seen that hunting industry kind of get bastardized, if you will. It became a rich man sport. And that's what it was. It was trophy quality management. Before, if you wanted to hunt a farmer's, woods or whatever, you had to knock on the door, maybe go bale hay with them, take him some beer, maybe date his ugly, daughter or whatever. But, whatever you had to do to get in, you know what I mean? And then what happened is money came in. Well, how much are your taxes? And then they started, and I just watched it. And I watched kids at a young age, like not shooting anything under 150 inches, because that was what everybody was doing. And it was like, dude, you never shot a deer. What are you holding out for 150, an inch buck, when you just had 120 come past you, and I could have filmed it and it wasn't big enough. And I just seen it just wreck that whole sport. And what I liked about the musky end of things, I don't care how much, and we've all seen it, I don't care how much money you've got. It comes down to skill. And no one can own that body of water. I don't care how rich you are, you can't own that. You may have a fancy boat, but you can't own it. You can't plant fish. You can't plant habitat like they do for deer now. So my question became, are we hunters or are we deer farmers? Because that's what it was. And no one could do that in the world of muskie. And that's what I loved about it. It was going to keep it pure. I mean, I remember fishing the PMTT where I forget their names, but they showed up in their grandpa's boat. They rocked the PMTT for like 2 years. They were in a freaking fiberglass John boat with a 40-horse motor. And that was so impressive to me, because it was like, these guys are really good at what they do. And it wasn't about all the gear and the big money. And so that's why I gravitated towards the musky end of it, for that reason.
God, that is an unbelievable answer. I don't want to steal the mic from Gus or Brian if they got anything, but I guess I was just going to kind of keep things going on the muskie front. So you hook up with Steve Jensen and his brother, and you kind of get exposed to this muskie thing, and it sounded like it snowballed pretty quickly. But how quickly then did it come to a point where you were the one actually out there fishing and filming, and when did those trips kind of start to happen? Like, I know, you have the Vault series on YouTube, which is unbelievable. You guys at Mille Lacs back in the day just catching giant fish and out in Vermilion and all these different places, in their heyday.
Yeah.
I gotta imagine it was probably right around that time
It was
that it all
before
synced
that,
up.
and it was.
Before that.
I live in central Wisconsin, on the Petenwell flowage. So Steve lived at the time. Eric was living up in Hayward, and Steve was living still down in Poisippi. Steve's got a degree in fisheries biologist, so he was running a fish farm, and he lived right down here. So then what happened is because Eric was up there guiding, Steve was down here. Steve and I, because it was only like maybe a 30-40 minute drive from his place to Petenwell. And Petenwell back in the day was untapped. Like, there was nobody fishing it. And, 23,000 acres, and nobody was fishing it. So then we started going out because Steve was so close. We started going out, started filming more and more. Then we came out with our first DVD at the time, and it was on the Pete Mall. So that's what it was. That's how we started because Steve needed a partner. So then I taught him how to run camera, and then I started fishing. And then that's how the whole thing, there was no GoPros at that time. So I literally was the first one to buy, finally the small, like high 8 cameras came out with tape. And I bought 2 of them, hooked them up on masts in the boat, and ran them off a 12-volt battery and would run because nobody was capturing the hookup.
Right.
They were, but they were faking it. And how they were faking it, you know what a dipsy diver is?
Yeah.
They would hook a dipsy diver onto their rod, reel
No
it, set the
way.
hook, and it would just start pumping the rod. And I got one. You know what I mean? And that they were faking everybody out. And
my God.
I didn't want to do that. There's so much smoke and mirrors, dude, in this fishing industry and hunting industry that if the public really knew half the crap that goes down, it really, you take a whole different look at things. I lost a sponsorship, a major sponsorship because of that. I was doing multi-species. I had Fluger reels. They called me up and they said, okay, we want you to go to Cass Lake, film a walleye show with 2 of the best pros at that time. I won't name their names, but if I did, you know exactly who they are. And we didn't have cell phones. So we're fishing and they had a radio, walkie-talkie in the boat, and they had it on and it kept squawking. I'm trying to film and I'm like, dude, can we shut that off? And they're like, no, we can't. I says, why? He goes, we got people fishing for us. When they catch fish, they're going to run them to us. We're going to rehook them and you're going to film it.
No way.
Yeah, for real.
Wow.
For real. And so I was like, no, I'm an outdoors guy. This was blowing me away. We end up catching a 27-inch walleye. And I get the whole thing on film. I'm like, thank God I hit record. We got everything. It was legit. All of a sudden, I watched them take that fish off. Guy opened up his center rod locker. He had all kinds of new hats, brand new hats, and brand new shirts.
Oh, shit.
Oh, I know where
So
this
he
is
puts his
going.
shirt on, puts a hat on, puts that lure in the mouth, turns the boat, snap, snap. I watch him kill that fish.
That is
It turned white.
insane.
And that fish ended up on 4 or 5 different magazines at the time. And I was there in the boat. So we got done that night. And I started loading up all my stuff. And the guy came in and he goes, where are you going? I says, what I seen today, I want no part of. I said, this is disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourselves. You guys are supposed to be pros. And this is how it's done. I said, I want no part of this. I remember him hitting me on the chest and he said, son, you either play the game or you ain't going to last. I jumped in my car, drove, got into Wisconsin. There was payphones back then, called up Larry Smith and said, Larry's the real deal. And I called up Larry and I said, Larry, I was filming a lot with him back then. I said, this is what happened. I said, I need a show. He said, meet me at Petenwell tomorrow morning. We'll go out. We ended up catching like 14 walleyes that day. Monday came. The guy who hired me called me up and he said, he goes, Mike, you embarrassed the hell out of me. I said, what? And he goes, you embarrassed the shit out of me with those guys. I said, I embarrassed you? I said, you should be embarrassed. I said, what you're doing is fraud. I said, I want no part of that. He says, I'm canceling my sponsorship. It was a $25,000 deal. And at the time, that was a lot of money, And I said, stick it up your ass. I don't care. And I hung up the phone. I looked at my wife. She knew it was going down. And that's why I started capturing with the cameras on the poles. I wanted everything to be real, the real deal. if don't be changing fish around like we're going to save the big fish for the last fish, so it's a climax and all this stuff. Bull crap. You catch that big fish on your first run, that's where it lays in the scheme of things. And so that's what at the time it hurt me because 25 grand, was a lot of money. That was a big deal. But on the other hand, it really fortified me into who I became in saying, I'm going to do this legit. I've never claimed to be the best fisherman out there. There's guys that can outfish me any day of the week. That's never what my intent was. My intent has always been to tell the story, the way it went down. Good, bad, or indifferent, that's what we're going to do. And so maybe without that happening at that point in my career, maybe I would have went down that slippery slope of smoke and mirrors. But I was so pissed off about it because I was an outdoors guy and you eat what you kill. And they just, when they got done with that photo shoot, they just chucked that fish right in the water. It was like nothing to them. And it was like, dude. So then fast forward 10 years, I'm at a trade show, Minneapolis sports show. And that guy is there and he's got this electric knife and he's got a crowd around him and he's selling it. And I was with Dave Brown and I looked at it and I said, Dave, watch this. And he goes, oh no. And I said, yeah, watch this. I part the crowd. I go up to him and I says, hey, I won't say his name. Remember me? He looked at me and goes, I know who you are. I said, yeah, you fucking A, you know who I am. I says, and you're not the real deal. And I walked away. I had to get that in there. I mean, you cost me 25 grand, dude, because you're a crook. You know what I mean? He was just shaking his head. He goes, man. And I said, no, bullshit. You said I wasn't going to last. It's 10 years, man. I'm here. I'm still standing, you know? And so that's the thing is if you're going to do it right. You know what I mean? It's easy to do that end of things, do the smoke and mirrors, rehook fish, do muskie. It's hard to do. You couldn't do that. But in the walleye world and bass world, it's done more than what you guys realize. Mm-hmm. And it's done by people that you probably respect, but you just don't know that they're doing it. And so that's kind of what formed me into Keys Outdoors is it's real. And we're not going to catch fish every time we go out, but that story has to be told too. You know what I mean? And I don't have a problem. I remember doing the first episode again, spending 7 days on a river. Ben Olson calling me up and he's like, hey man, how'd you do? I said, I didn't catch a fish. I moved a couple, had some cool follows, but didn't catch a fish. He goes, oh, that sucks, dude. He goes, 7 days, nothing. I said, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to air that. He goes, you're going to be the first muskie guy ever to do a show without a muskie. And I said, exactly. That show went through the roof as far as people watching because they could relate to it. You know what I mean? And so that's when it really I kind of gravitated towards telling the story and becoming a storyteller because that's really what it is. So,
yeah. And I want to pay a quick comment. It's not even a question, but I can probably speak for Gus and Brian on this. It's a great point that you just made because, when we kind of grew up and when our addiction became, an addiction in the muskie world, we were watching a lot of your shows. And so when we would go and do these trips, you kind of, it was great to watch the shows that you did, especially some of the trips in similar areas in Wisconsin. And we would go and we'd take out a whole weekend. We'd go up there and we saw somebody that would get up early in the morning, fish all day, until night. And whether you had success or you didn't, it was like the fun of just doing it. And so we took a lot from that. And so, I mean, again, not really a question, more just a compliment. And I think it was great education for people that were getting into the sport. Cause I know it definitely shaped us a lot.
Yeah. And I see things are always going to change, man. Technology is always going to be there. Stuff's going to get easier. Things are going to get better. Again, me personally, I don't live scope because I think that's not who I am. my thing has always been about the struggle. And so now I got a machine where I don't have to struggle no more. And I only got to make 8, 10, 12 casts a day. I don't think my series would last very long doing that. You know what I mean? And so that's why I don't do it. I'm not opposed to people doing it as long as they're doing it right. You know, who am I to say how they should catch fish? But for me, it's not what it's about. For me, it's about the struggle. It's a game of chess. It's always been that. It reminds me a lot of bow hunting, musky fishing, because you're hunting for a big fish, you're hunting for a big deer. So it's like, okay, the wind is blowing out of here. This is where the bait fish is. You're putting all these pieces together and trying to, like a game of chess, trying to figure out where these fish are and what they're doing. And I love that challenge. That's, to me, that's the cool thing about it, is the challenge. It doesn't work all the time, but it's not supposed to. And so now we're going to raise a whole generation of younger anglers that if you ask them, well, why did you catch that fish there? They're going to say, because the machine told me it was there. Not because of logic and critical thinking about why that fish was there. That fish was there because this bait fish was there. Why was the bait fish there? Because for the last 3 days, we'd had a northwest wind that was pushing everything, the biomass, everything goes biomass, bait fish, you know what I mean? And the food chain right up. So, and it was weeds, it was rocks at this certain, so it's all these little pieces of the puzzle that I love that challenge. It's a game of chess. And sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. And people have asked me over the years too, Mike, why do you get so pumped up on a 38-inch fish? And it's like, do you know how many casts I made for that 38-inch fish? You know what I mean? And yeah, I am going to get pumped up on it because, one, I worked my butt off to get that bite. Secondly, I want these young kids not to see what I did when I was in the hunting industry. Wasn't big enough. You know what I mean? I want them to be just as proud that they caught a 38 as they did a 50. Because I could blindfold you, dude, and smell, you wouldn't smell the difference between a 50 and a 38. You would smell musky. You know what I mean? And so that's why I do what I do. And I generally do get pumped, you know? You guys know what it is to cast for 12 hours straight without a bite. You know what that is. Your body aches. And I ain't getting no younger. I'm going to be turning 65 next month. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I'm not getting any younger. And so, but again, I'm going to go out throwing, you know what I mean? Maybe throwing my back out or something, but I'm going to go out throwing.
Something to be
you
throwing.
know? So
I'm curious, you know, and anyone who's successful, there's luck involved at some point in the journey. Like you said, running into the Jensens, the old man that, you know, gave you that connection, and then that kind of took off in your muskie career. Is there someone else or some scenario where you look back and you're like, God, was I lucky that I ran into that guy at this time or met this person that helped your career turn
I
into what
don't think
it
it
is?
was a person as much as it was a timing thing. I was at the right time, at the right place at the right time. There wasn't, I mean, think about it. Booker was there, Sarek was there, Mena was kind of there. You know what I mean? He was doing shows with Gillespie, but he wasn't 100% at that time. So there was an opening for it. Sarek was basically just getting going. You know, he had the magazine, but he just started on the television thing. And Booker was like, okay, go out, catch some bass, and then a muskie. So it wasn't a full-fledged, dedicated muskie show. And so I was the one that I seized that opportunity. And that's when I went from 26 weeks to 13 weeks because of the grind. And that's when I focused on the musky end of things. So it wasn't really someone as much as it was I seen a void in the market. I was like, musky fishing is very popular. I'm a hunter. I'm hunting, but I'm hunting for a fish. It's got everything that I want. It's got adventure. It's got hunting. It's got camping. It's got every element that fulfills me as a person. And there was an opening. So it was really just being in the right place. I don't envy you guys because it's so saturated now. You know what I mean? With YouTube and stuff like that, there's so many people doing it. And so it's just diluted that whole industry dollar wise. Because now, companies are companies for a reason. You know what I mean? And they go, well, wait a minute, I don't have to pay this guy 25 grand anymore. I can just give this kid a rod, a reel, and a t-shirt, and he's going to go out and get me footage. And if I could say anything to the young YouTubers out there is, what is your time worth? You know what I mean? Because I know you're making money for them. It's not that they can't pay you. It's they don't want to pay you. And that's the thing that if I could give any advice, and I have given that advice to a couple of YouTubers that I know, it's like, dude, at the end of the day, you can film if you're going to do this as a hobby. But at the end of the day, it's got to become a business for you. You got to be able to put gas in your truck. You got to be able to pay a mortgage. You got to be able to do all this. And if you're building really good content, then why would you belittle yourself to not want to get paid for that? To get paid for, here's some baits, here's a rod. You know what I mean? A guy just gave you a rod who owns a $10 million company. F off, buddy. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's like my time is worth something. And if we work together, we can build something that both of us are getting what we want. You're getting sales, I'm getting paid. And that's what's been my relationship with my companies that I've been with. It's beyond now of just a dollar relationship. I've been with these companies. I mean, I remember signing Musky Mayhem when they were in a garage, stacked with boxes. And I remember Carrie Hoppy signing the first check, and her hand was shaking because she's never wrote a check that big before. But watch them go from there to one of the biggest bucktail companies in the world and being part of that, that was special. Same with Musky Innovations. And then we became friends, not just a business relationship, but we become friends. And so being part of that is the suggestion, or that is the advice that I would give these young guys coming up, is that be a businessman. I'll do X amount for you, but I got to get paid. Maybe you're not going to ask the 25 grand right away, because at the end of the day, it's all about numbers. You know what I mean? But your time's got to be worth something. You know what I mean? Unless you're just doing it purely out of hobby and you're just going, hey, man, I'd be doing this anyways, and now I got a free rod and reel or whatever. Cool, I get that. But if you're going to want to make a living at it, you got to start making a living at it. You got to get paid for what you do. So, and that's it. I mean, that's my advice to the young guys coming up. And that's why I say I don't envy you guys, because there's so much competition out there. I mean, and there's a lot of, you guys do good work, you know? I mean, gosh, you do. I don't know who's doing your editing, but dude, you're doing some really good stuff, man. You know what I mean?
I really appreciate that, Mike. Yeah, yeah.
Well, you are. I watch your stuff, you know what I mean? And you know what it takes to put that together. How many hours you got into that?
A pretty good amount, you know,
Right.
not being an editor at all, and just kind of chucking in some long hours. You know, it's tough. That's why it's tough in the middle of the season when I'm editing or guiding, you know, just about every day in the peak season. It's tough to try and
Put
edit up a video,
together.
put the
And
video together. So,
you know, my advice on that is me personally, I don't want to do that. I think there's something to be said about making people wait. You know what I mean? And, you know, that's why we always launch our stuff. We drop our stuff in January. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I get people that are like, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. There's something to be said about that. When you're trying to guide and do the video production, that's tough to do, man. You know what I mean? And so me personally, I've always wanted to do it to where this is when our videos run, this is when the new season drops, and that's it. Because I want to be able to have the time to do nothing but edit. I don't want to sit there and say, okay, I only got 2 hours to edit. You know what I mean? I want to sit there and say, I've got a week or longer to put this thing together and make it the best I can. And that's why, and I think, like I said, I mean, I think that there's something to be said about anticipation. And people are waiting for that to come out. And that's good. And it's perfect time right now. Trade shows are going, dead of winter. What else are you doing? It's 20 below out, man. You know what I mean?
This is when I binge
Summertime, I'm not
videos.
watching videos. I'm fishing. I ain't watching
Same here.
videos, you know?
Same here.
Yeah.
I stockpile them all. I do not watch much content in the summer. And as people know who listen, and Max and Brian know, I do not post much in the summer at all. I just want to fish. I want to take my clients out. I want to have a great day in the water. I want to teach them what I know, and go on to the next day and save that footage and that content for the winter. And what I can imagine you, Mike, I doubt you'd want to be editing in the dead of summer when you could just be,
No, I
like you said,
couldn't.
you're looking out the window. You want to be out there, not in
Right.
here. But
Yeah,
when you're
no,
in here in
I
the
couldn't do
winter,
it.
it's like it's a little easier when you see
Oh, right.
10 below.
Right. I mean, it's like, yeah, to me, it just, again, I start my editing process. I'll get done with the bow season, right up till gun season. And then that's when I start the process of editing. So at that time of the year, this time of the year, I wouldn't be doing much anyways. I'm not a ice fishing guy. I'll do it. I'm not, I mean, I'd like to hunt more, maybe late season, a little bit more than I do. But other than that, I wouldn't be doing nothing anyway. So this is the time to get it done. Build client videos as well. Yeah, so I get you. I mean, I couldn't do it during the
Hmm.
season. No way. You know,
Right.
dude, we're getting off the water at 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. You know
It's
what I
tough.
mean? I don't want to
Absolutely.
edit, man. I want to get something to eat and go to bed, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And my body's hurting, you know? So it's like how some people do it, I don't know how they do it. Um, and again, I just think that they would have more views if they would just wait until now. Nobody's doing nothing right now. You know what I mean? Summertime, like we said, we're not watching videos. It's like I'm not, maybe I'll watch a clip or something, you know what I
Right.
mean, of something, but again, I'm not watching a whole episode. I'm out chasing them things.
I
So
think the best views I've gotten on some footage, which these guys will laugh at this. Some of the most viral videos that I've put out on like Instagram and Facebook have pretty much been full on fuck ups on a fish or in the eight or a fish off or I got bare feet in the bow or something like that, and it just hits the general mainstream or
right,
what I like
right.
to call the general admission side of Facebook,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
just anybody can comment, anybody can say what they want,
right,
and these aren't even like fishermen. So, whereas in the winter, yeah, maybe the views might be down a little bit, but you get like the normal people, the normal listeners, the regulars, and it's kind of what they want to see.
right,
I
right.
just think I think it's funny. I man, I had a lot of questions that you went off on a lot of great stuff. I had one I kind of want to go back on with the filming, and I was actually really curious about this. You said that the filming or the editing and filming has gotten easier. But what I was kind of curious about was back in the day, you had one camera or very few cameras and you had tape. I didn't edit. I was maybe not even alive yet, but didn't
Let's age
edit
you.
or anything or know what editing editing was like back then. But he said it's gotten easier, but yet there's more to it. You say you do music, you're doing all these things. You have I don't even know how many cameras you run right now. These editing softwares, you can do so much with them. Is it getting easier, or do you think it's getting harder? Are you putting in more
Absolutely.
hours?
Because okay, so our process back in the day where, now I can run a GoPro and I can leave it on a loop and okay,
Hmm.
we just had action, go over hit, it creates a file. Back in the day, it was tape. A tape would be an
Oh,
hour, 60 minutes. So we would run, if anything happened in that tape, we'd have to pull the tape at $13 a tape, pull the tape, put it aside, mark it, what it was, where it was, 27 minutes in, this is what happened. And we would pull that tape So I would go through tape like you wouldn't believe. And but it was the only thing that's how it was done. Then you'd put a brand new tape in. If you didn't get nothing in that hour, then you would just go back, rewind the tape, and just film over it. But it was all digital. And it was all analog, I should say. And then editing, like I said, I bought Apple's first editing suite, and it was $10,000. Now the computer I have is $2,700. You know what I mean? But it was again, you'd have to hook up, you'd have to have a tape player, a deck, and then you would run it into your computer, and you had a wheel on it and stuff, and you could go and then you would cut. You'd have to cut. It was so time consuming. So it's gotten easier as far as the production end of it. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by easier. You still got to be creative in what you're doing. But again, now I can drag and drop a lot of stuff where before it wasn't that way. Tape was a pain in the butt. And then we were like, I know for a fact, we were the first fishing show in the country to put our stuff on YouTube. That was when the brothers owned it. Google didn't own it. It was two brothers out of California. And we had dial-up. At that time, everything was dial-up. So I would sit there and I would do a show. So it'd be like episode 1, and they would only be able to take 15 minutes of video. So I'd have to upload 15 minutes, half of the show. So it'd be episode 1, part 1, episode 1, part 2, and I would upload it. And the reason why we did that, it was Operation Desert Storm was going on, and I was sending a lot of DVDs over to the soldiers over there from Wisconsin, the upper Midwest, the Musky guys. And
Sweet.
yeah, I was sending it over in boxes and stuff. And then some guy was like, dude, there's this thing, it's called YouTube. He goes, you wouldn't believe it, man. So we get on there, and I started uploading it onto there so that they could watch it over there. But it was dial-up. So literally, it would take me all night to upload that half show, all night on dial-up. And you hope to God that it didn't click out on you, that you'd have to start over again. So, but it was like, that was cutting edge back then. And it was like, so I would hit it and it would go all night. I'd go to bed and I'd wake up in the morning, grab my cup of coffee and go, oh shit. Or I'd go, yeah, made it. You know what I mean? And then start uploading the next part of it. And nobody was doing it at that time. Nobody. The Linders weren't, nobody was. And so that's what we did is I seen that whole YouTube thing really come. And then it got to the point to where it took off. For about 4 years, the brothers owned it. And that's when Google approached them and they became multimillionaires for selling it to them. And then once they had that technology with a company like Google, then that's when they fine-tuned it to what it is now. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I remember having the first GoPro. It was SD. The footage sucked. Totally sucked. But it was like, it was a hero camera. And it was like, oh my God, look at how big this thing is, So we were the first ones to grab that because it was like, I found it online from some surfer dude that was like, I'm filming my own surfing thing. And it was the owner of GoPro. And he's the one who invented that camera. So I contacted him and they just started the company. And I remember buying that camera for like $200, which back in that day for a camera this big was like super expensive. And the footage absolutely sucked. But there was nothing else like that. Again, up until that point, I'm buying high-8 cameras, putting them on what I call Skycam, a post with one facing the front and one facing the back. And again, running everything off of a 12-volt battery so that it would run all day. So, and we had come-alongs to hold it in place. And the last thing you wanted to hear was, we're making a move. It was like, oh shit, I gotta rip all this shit down now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was insane. Ask Jensen and them when you see them. Because
Yeah.
it was
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh my God, dude. I
You
remember we were shooting on Vermilion one time and it was super cold. And that's that show where we caught a lot of really big fish. We were gluing three tails on pounders. And we ended up smoking a bunch of right. Hey, that's how the Medusa was formed. That's where they
yeah.
got that off of. Because 2 years later, Jason Summers came out with
Oh
the Medusa three-tailed rubber bait, and we were doing that
oh my
on
goodness.
pounders. And all of a sudden, we were casting and casting, and what happened is where I had to come along, it froze because it was really cold, and it slipped, and both my cameras went in the water.
Oh,
Well, I just lost like $4,000
Oh,
worth of gear. You would not believe the swear words that were coming out of my mouth at that point. And then we ran right back to Vermilion Dam Lodge, dried them out, got rice, put heaters on them, trying to get them going. I only had one handheld then, and we couldn't save them. I've lost 7 drones. I've lost probably 6 cameras, anywhere from 6,000 to, yeah, I mean, I've lost a lot of gear, man. You know, over stupidness. One time I had the camera, we were filming with Greg Thomas, and I put the camera down, a wave came over, fucking poof, washed the whole camera right out. Gone, gone. So it was like, wow. Yeah. So I mean, it's the technology has gotten a lot better. And there's a lot of really cool stuff out there. You know, the 360 cameras are badass now.
yeah.
I mean, that's
Mhm.
some revolutionary stuff there. So I'm using that more. Yeah, I mean, so I've always stayed on the technical side of things, is always updating my gear and staying with it. Because it really does make the process a lot easier in the long run.
Yeah. And
I
we've seen you, sorry, Max. I was just gonna say we've seen you over the years when when these camera equipment have been coming out, like where you're editing and just like what kind of shots you're getting have been improving, and what has already been a phenomenal show that we always watch. We can just like tell the production line of everything is insane. The quality is really good. And we know like you do pretty much all of it. It's you,
Yeah,
editing,
yeah.
filming, everything. I was gonna cut in there before when you said you had to take down all the cameras and stuff. I mean, man, you'd hate to fish with me on the Eagle River chain. I'm fishing like 40 to 50
Right.
spots a day.
Well, now I wouldn't mind it. Back then, it
Yeah.
was a pain in the ass, man. You know what I mean? And then if it was raining, we had to put garbage bags over them, cut a hole for the
Oh,
lens to come
jeez.
out. It was just like insane, but nobody was doing it. And so it was worth it. And so it was fun, but it was a lot of work, a lot of work. But again, it's all we knew. There was nothing else. So what do you do? You know what I
right,
mean? So
right.
and
Yeah.
I couldn't afford to hire a cameraman. And not only that, the guy that I really, really respect, and not so much him, but his cameraman is what the hell is his name? Mesa Comer. And you know who he is? Bob Mesa
Bob?
Comer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, Google him, dude. He
Okay.
was like before us. And back then, he didn't have, what I was doing with the cameras. He literally, think about this. How would you like to be that cameraman? You're talking a 10, 15-pound camera, shoulder mount, and every cast he had to film. Every stinking cast on tape. And so I tip my hat to that because that was like, I tried it. And then with two guys, it's like, well, who do I focus on here? Is it going to be the guy in the front? Is it the guy in the back? What are
Right.
you going to do here? But every cast, I mean, can you imagine that? And he did it. And that's why if you got time, Google some of his stuff. It was at the time, it was cutting edge, man.
Fish
Uh,
He
TV.
had the world by the ass. He really did.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you got a really, a good appreciation for all the shows you've put out, but I wanted to ask you, do you have one or a couple in particular, or maybe even better, do you have shows that people will come up and talk to you about, like more than others, whether it's certain lakes or certain areas of the world that you fished in where people have come up and, said, "Oh, I love this when you fish this area," or
A lot of the
anything like that?
wilderness stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot more of the wilderness stuff. A lot of people really dig that. And just because they're not going to do it, you know what I mean? So they're living vicariously through me, you know what I mean? So it's like, I always say this as a joke. Well, they're sitting in their underwear watching me on a Sunday morning eating a bowl of cereal. I'm the guy out on the lake getting eaten by mosquitoes.
That
You know
guy
what I
down
mean?
there.
I got monkey butt going on like crazy. You
That's
know what I
Max.
mean? I stink, but
That's
and it's
crazy.
like, so it's like, yeah, but the camping stuff really does good. I mean, you know, I get every year I get emails from people that I just got an email from a guy who said, listen, man, he goes, I just got through a bad stage in my life. He lost his leg. And he goes, your videos is what I'm a musky guy, and your videos are what kept me going and kept me positive. And, that kind of touches you, you know what I mean? Because you don't realize, we think we're just fishermen, which we are, but it means a lot to people. I've had really cool things like that, like getting people through Rich Reinhardt. He's got a bad heart and he sat for 7 months in a bed every day and he just binged on Keys Outdoors. You know what I mean? So to be part of that recovery is like super cool. I think we take things like that for granted, but we don't realize how many people's lives we touch at the end of the day. And that's probably the most grateful thing that I have. How many young people, I'm like I said, dude, man, I'm gonna be 65. So I've got two generations. My dad was watching you as a kid. Now their kids are watching me. And to see that is like super cool. It's like, yeah, my grandpa started watching you, and then my dad started watching you, and now I'm watching you. And it's like, holy shit, I'm that old. You know what I mean? I've been around that long. And so that's cool because a lot of them have got into it because of that. I've had a lot of people that were walleye guys, bass guys who got into musky fishing because of Keys Outdoors. And so that to me is very precious, that kind of stuff. Funniest story was we were at Milwaukee Muskie Expo. Steve Jensen and I, this is way back in the day. Guy comes up and he's like a huge fan of the show. And he's got a wife and she's got a twin. So two twins, and very good looking. And so he's talking to us in the booth and he's like, show him. And she's like, I'm not going to show him. And I'm like, Steve and I are looking at each other like, okay, what's happening here? And he's like, show him. So she pulls her pants down and she's got a KO tattoo. Yeah. And then the sister pulls her down. She's got the matching one. So it was like, oh my God, dude, this is so bizarre. You know
Like
what
a
I
rock
mean?
star.
Yeah, it was like,
Twins,
wow.
twins, twins,
Yeah,
twins, Basil.
right. So it was like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, or having people. I signed a baby last year. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm
What?
signing it right. My wife will hate me, but I want her to hate me. Sign right on his forehead. I was like, dude, I ain't signing your baby, dude.
That's
That ain't
crazy.
happening.
It's
You know
like
what
Ricky
I mean?
Bobby out there.
Yeah, it was like, no, I'm not. I didn't know if he was effing with me or what, but he had a marker in his hand and he had a baby in the other hand, and it was like, no, I'm not doing that. So
That
yeah,
is
it's been crazy. Yeah, it's been good and it's been bad too. It's got its bad end of it too. For a lot of people that don't like what we're doing and exposing water. I've been threatened. I've gotten 3 or 4 people kicked off of social media that actually threatened me to kill me. And posted my information where I live online. I had to go
That's
to,
crazy.
to
Whoa.
Facebook.
Doxing you?
What's that?
They're doxing you? That's crazy.
Yeah, it was bad, dude. And then another time this is funny. We had where I live in a small town, and every year we have a homecoming parade that goes down the street. It's a big deal for our town. So all the homeowners bring out lawn chairs and we watch the parade. And about 2 weeks prior to that, a box shows up on my doorstep. And I open it up and it's a pair of Carhartt bibs. And I'm like, okay, but no address. And I'm like, what the hell? So I call all the sponsors up. I'm like, hey, Brad, did you send me some Carhartts? It's like, no. So it goes through the whole thing. Nobody sent it to me. About 2 days later, another box shows up on my door. It's a Carhartt jacket. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? You know? So then that week comes and it's the homecoming. As the parade's going through, I notice this dude, as the parade left, I'm picking up the lawn chairs, putting stuff away. And I noticed this guy was like lingering in my yard. And he comes up to me and he's like real nervous. And he's like, you're my keys, right? And I'm like, yeah. Did you get my stuff? And I says, what? And he goes, did you get my stuff? And I'm like, what stuff? And he goes, my Carhartts that I bought you. And I was like, yeah, I did. And I says, dude, I got to give them back. I said, I'm sponsored by people I can't wear. Now it's getting freaky. You know, he then goes off on me. Oh, you're too fucking good for me and this and that. And I'm like, okay, my wife is watching this. I got to leave the next day on a shoot. She's freaking out. She's like, do I call the police? What do I do? I went in, I grabbed the boxes, gave it to him. I said, dude, I appreciate it, but I can't do this. You know what I mean? And it was just so bizarre. And so we reported it to the police because I was leaving the next day. And my wife is freaking out. You know what I mean? She's like, is this guy going to come back and kill us or what's going to happen here? And I was like, oh my God. But, nothing happened, but it was just so weird stuff like that has happened too. So I couldn't even imagine being like a true rock star
Yeah.
or can you imagine what they go through?
Yeah.
It's like, it would be like unbearable.
Times a million. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
crazy.
I mean, and it gets to a point where, people know you and stuff. And it got to the point where my wife was getting very upset because we go to the bar or we go get a fish fry. And I'd have people just pull up chairs and sit by us and start talking fishing. And it's like, I'm out for dinner with my wife, man. And you don't want to be an asshole. You know what I mean?
Right.
But at the other end of it, it's like, come on, man. You know what? I'm a fishing guy. You know what I mean? I stink at the end of the day. You know what I mean? I just want to enjoy a dinner. So my wife stopped going out because it was like people, that's all they want to do is talk fishing. You guys know that. And to me, it's the last thing I want to talk about. When I'm home, I don't want to, I'll talk about the weather. I'll talk politics. I'll talk whatever. The last thing I want to talk about is fishing because I just got done doing it for 6 days. I just want to chill, So that kind of stuff, again, happens. I'm sure you guys had signing the autographs and stuff like that. I mean,
nah, we ain't famous enough.
Yeah, you guys are. So, yeah. So, if you haven't, get used to it because you're going to. You know what I mean? Which is super cool. You know what I mean? I get it. These people, like I said, they live vicariously through us. We're able to do what they can't do. And so we can't take it for granted. We got to really respect what we have and be appreciative of what we have.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with
Absolutely.
your success, obviously, I mean, anybody who's successful out in the political eye comes great positives and negatives. So sticking with it and getting through those, not always the easiest, but I mean, hopefully, we keep growing, but we don't have to deal with some of those crazy people out there. But
Yeah.
I do want to sort of put a wrap on it, unless Max and Gus have one. But we just had our New Year's resolution and goal podcast last week. I'm putting you on the spot, but curious if you've got, a big goal or two for this year, whether it's fishing or, content, something in mind that you want to achieve this year.
Um, I want to, I need 4 states and then I've caught a muskie in every state that has them. So I need Maine, I need New Jersey, I need West Virginia, and I need New Jersey, Maine, West Virginia,
Out west?
no, out east. Again, not in the tiger. I'm talking actual
Oh,
muskie, not tigers. You open up that Pandora's box, and you're talking Washington, Oregon, Idaho,
Colorado.
Montana, Colorado. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
talking pure muskie,
Mexico.
real muskies in muskie range. So Maine, West Virginia, Vermont, and New Jersey. So all on the East Coast. I got New York a couple years ago, 2 years ago. We were supposed to go out this year to New Jersey, but weather just didn't happen and things didn't happen. So that's my goal this year is I want to knock at least one or two more of those off. You know, it's funny, my grandson was looking, Amy bought me a map of the United States, and it's got it to where you can put a picture behind it. So she just for Christmas one year started gathering all my pictures up, and she started putting it together, and she gave it to me as a gift. And I opened it up and I was looking at it and I was like, holy shit, man, I've been in all those states and I've caught, you know, so then it became a goal. It was like, okay, I'm going to fill the rest of this map up, and it's hanging right outside my office here. And I look at it every day, and it's like, so it encouraged me to do that. And I remember my grandson, he's 10 years old, and he's looking at the map and he goes, Papa, he goes, what is this? And I said, that's where I caught a muskie in every state. I have a picture of a muskie that I caught in that state. And he goes, so what states do you need left? And I pointed them out. And he looked at me and goes, so when you do that, what do you get for that? and 10 years old. And I looked at him and I said, you know, good question. Probably nothing. I said, you know, except for the fact that I could say I caught a fish in everything.
Yeah.
Shakes his head up and down. He goes, I get it. And that was it. It was just so simple to him, but it was like, what do you get? Why are you doing this? You know what I mean?
I'd be curious to know if anyone else has caught a muskie in a natural muskie in every state that they have muskies in.
I don't know. So I didn't know until she got me the map. And then I started going, wow, dude, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri, you know what I mean, Michigan. And it just started going towards like I filmed in all these states and we caught fish. And I personally have caught fish in all these states. And then I realized at that time there was only 6 states left. And it was again, Maine, New York, Pennsylvania. We went out and did the Pennsylvania, New York thing, which I got to say, Pennsylvania's got it going on out there.
We enjoyed those episodes a lot when you're when you're trying to get these last states.
Yeah,
like that's a new thing. I enjoyed those a lot.
Yeah, it was tough. You know what I mean? It was brutal. You know, we only have so many days to get out there, but it was cool. So this year I'd like to knock off Vermont. It's beautiful out there. There's a couple rivers. It would be a river thing. And now that I signed with that jet boat company, I'm more prepared to, you know, do that. So it's going to allow me to do that. This year was the first year with the jet boat company, and it's unreal, dude. It opens up a whole new way of catching fish and getting you in places that you just never get or go. So,
may I ask what boat?
It's XL boats. They're out of Tennessee. It's got a 60 horse Yami 4-stroke on it. The boat, I just love it. I mean, all solid welded aluminum. It's got the thickest hull. You know, on there, it's a 1.25 thickness. The boat is amazing, and I can get it in literally about 7 inches of water. And so it's insane. It just gets you, and it fishes beautiful because it's a John boat. Everybody was like, when I was getting it, they were like, oh, get a center console. You know what I mean? So you can really read the river. And I was like, no, I want that openness of, you know, open concept. I can fish 3 guys out of it, 2 guys super comfortable, big deck on the front, big deck on the back, and carry enough gear for a week. So it's opened up a big, a big part of what we're going to be doing and more of it um, coming up. So you'll see the next episode. You'll see that boat in
Nice.
those episodes. So
Sweet.
and I was able to keep Skeeter. You know what I mean? Where that was a hard one to pull off. It was like, Skeeter pays me a
Yeah.
lot of money, man, and puts me in their boat. But Skeeter is owned by Yamaha. So that was the deal. They were like, as
Oh,
long as you put a Yami on the back, we're gonna be cool with it.
Nice.
And when I negotiated my deal with them years ago, I've been with them for 12 years. When I negotiated with them, I told them, I said, out of 13 episodes, at least 3 or 4 are going to be river shows. People dig that. I'm not giving that up. And they were cool with it. They just said that either you put a Yami on the back of it because that's what owns Skeeter, or if you don't have a Mercury or anything else, cover it up. That's why a lot of the shows you see, people are putting garbage bags over their motor.
yeah.
It's because either one, they don't want to give that exposure to that company, or two, they've got to deal with a company that says you got to cover that up.
Yeah.
So that was cool that Yamaha did that. So and it was beneficial for them because that boat company wasn't selling. They weren't putting Yamahas on their boat, and so I kind of forced them to do that. And now Yamaha is putting motors on their boat. So it was a win-win for everybody. And
Sweet.
that's the thing about business is when it's a win-win for everybody, it's a good business deal. When everybody wins, everybody's happy. Man, what more can you ask for? So
True
Not
that.
much, man. Not much.
Got anything else, Max? I know.
This has been a really fun time. Some of those stories were unbelievable. I'm sure we left a lot on the table, but we'll just have to have you back on, maybe next winter to talk about some of the the
yeah,
episodes
or
from
we
this
hook up
year.
at a
And
bar somewhere and then you'll hear some really good
yeah,
stories.
we did that.
A
Yeah,
few
Wisconsin.
times.
Yeah,
We
Wisconsin
did.
opener. I wonder if that was a good time. We remember we were rained out
Yep.
and we sat at the bar for a long time with Brian Schaefer, and we were joking because you were filming our buddy Brian down here eating a cheeseburger, and we're like, I wonder if Brian's gonna make his Keys Outdoors debut just talking
Eating a
down a big
cheeseburger.
cheeseburger.
Slow mo shot.
I just looked at that footage and it's like, I'm gonna do something with it because what they're doing is really cool. I mean, that tournament's been going on for a long time. And the
Yeah,
prizes, you see the jacket that they get?
we haven't seen the jacket.
Oh, dude, it's so
No.
badass. It's like 1960s vinyl
Oh
with a
God.
muskie that's so faded on it. And it's like with the
That's
golf
sick.
tournament where you get the coat,
Yeah.
the guy who wins
Imagine
it
it.
gets that coat for a year. And then
Oh,
they
that's
embroider
awesome.
the name on it. So
That's
it's
sweet.
it's it's fun.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
yeah, it is. And that's so I'm gonna do it again this year, but yeah, I didn't catch well, we did. We caught one small fish. But we only fished 2 days in that tournament.
Yeah.
We ended up getting one little one. But yeah, it's not about that. It's about the camaraderie and the goofing around and the campfire at night, and they feed everybody. So it was really cool to be part of that.
Right
Fun
on.
time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think with our adventures, a lot of times the stories that don't even involve the catching of a fish or a big fish that stick just as much.
Right?
You
Well,
know,
it's about the adventure, man. You know,
absolutely.
it's about getting to that point, and that's really what it is cherish that moment. Like I said earlier, we're only here one time, so it isn't always about the fish at the end of the day, but the adventure to get to that point is really the fun part that I like.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said any of that better myself at all. All the advice you gave this pod, remarkable, and what you're saying about the hunt for the muskie is just right, is just spot on. Is exactly why we do it, exactly why I'm making or trying to make a career out of it, continuing the guiding and everything. Muskie's on tap and going forward. So, I appreciate the advice that he gave in this podcast to anybody listening out there. Honestly, it's really
Right?
good. Business side, that's a huge part. It's a
It
big
is.
part to why you're still, up there, up at the top. Got these great companies on your back and putting out amazing content every winter. So we appreciate you for that to help us through the wins and losses we have on bender weekends when we're out fishing or whatnot.
You
These
guys do a good
outdoors is
job. I've watched your
still
stuff.
on.
I'm very impressed with it. So, and you guys catch a lot of fish. You guys are really good fishermen.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Mike, what shows are you going to be at? I know you're speaking at Wausau at the
Yeah,
Wisconsin Museum.
Saturday I'm going down to Chicago for the day. Just Saturday I'll be at the Milwaukee Musky Expo, Minnesota, Wausau, and then I've got some speaking engagements that I got to do. A couple for Muskies Inc. And then just a couple private ones that I'm doing. I really don't like the talking thing. I don't like the seminars. It's like, and I say this all the time, and I mean it. It's like, what can I say that hasn't been said 10,000 times already?
Yeah.
How much more can you talk about fishing a deep weed edge? You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
so it just gets to a point where it just seems very redundant. And I
I
get
think
bored with it,
I
you
think
know?
you get up there and you just start telling stories, and the people love it just as much, probably even more.
Yeah, and that's probably what I do, more than anything is get up there and, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great stories and, this industry is loaded with characters.
Yeah.
I mean, you could write a Hollywood
Absolutely.
script on, you know what I mean? I've seen things that you'd never see anywhere else. You know what I mean? I mean, stories that, like I said, over some beers, we'll get into them, and I guarantee you'll be laughing so hard that you won't be able to control yourself. And
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's about the journey, and it's all part of it.
For sure.
absolutely.
I
Well,
don't think
hopefully we
I'm
run
going
into
to.
you soon.
Yeah. Well, I'll be
Yeah.
at Wausau. You guys going to be there?
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
be
Oh
there.
yeah.
Okay. Are you going to be
Yep.
down in Milwaukee?
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
Unfortunately not. Nope.
Minnesota?
I will also be gone for that. That one landed on the same weekend. I'm out working for Hooked and Tag, working the show and the Madison Fishing Expo
Oh, yeah. Okay.
landed on the same weekend, unfortunately, this year.
All right. Right on. Well, I'll
I
see
don't know
you in
if.
Wausau.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
We'll have to have some beers.
I'm sure we will. Yeah.
I hope to
Be a
not
good
even get
time.
an. I hope to not even get an hour of sleep that show.
Right? Well, Rich has done a really good job with that show. Out of all of them that I go to, that one has
Unbelievable.
become an event. You know what I mean? Where people are staying there for the whole weekend. And it's because of the location, but Rich has done a really, really good job with that. And it's just getting bigger. And so that's fun when you can, plan a whole weekend and be around like-minded people. And yeah, it's cool. Swap stories.
Yeah. I think it's the most down to earth show I've been to. I've been to them all now at this point as of last year, and I can't say anything, but just good things about the Wausau show. I mean,
Yeah,
God, the vendors. I mean, the hype is real. We hype it up all the time here on the pod and whatnot, and it lives up to it every year. I mean, the
yep.
stuff you can get there, you cannot get anywhere else, or even
Yeah,
online.
it's got that kind of underground lure building vibe to it, to where you're
Hmm.
not going to find that at a Thorne Brothers or a Team Rhino Outdoors. That guy only comes to
Hmm.
that show once a year, and to
Hmm.
get his baits, that's where you got to go. You got to go to that show. So it's a lot of underground um, lures that you're just not going to see, lure builders that you're just not going to see anywhere else, which is super cool. This is funny too, because over the years, I have a ton of people that are always like, Mike, have you ever thrown this lure or this lure? I'm probably the most illiterate lure guy there is. I've had innovations for 26 years. So I've only thrown bulldog. I was with Vince from Chaos Tackle, and he put on a Medusa, and he's working it. And I said, I want to see that. And he looked at me like I had two heads. And he's like, what? And I said, I've never seen a Medusa in the water ever. He goes, you've got to be kidding me. And I said, no. And so he
Wow.
was working it. And I was like, oh, that thing's pretty cool. Same with bucktails. I've had Mayhem for 19 years. So I don't know when these guys come up to me and they're like, have you thrown this and that? No, I haven't. I have no idea. You know what I mean? What it's
Yeah.
about. And you would think after 26 years, I'd be like, yeah, I've thrown that, I've thrown this, I've thrown that. And I tell people right out the truth, man. I'm the most illiterate guy out there as far as lures go. So don't ask me if it's good or not, because I have no idea.
So we know what you won't be talking about when you're getting your
Yeah,
keynote
right.
speech.
Right, exactly.
You
And
need to. Oh, so
What's
I was
that?
just gonna say, this just randomly popped in my mind. You need to do, I think it's like masterclass.com, like it's that website where anybody from around the world, if they're like really good at something, they can create a masterclass. You could do a whole business filming outdoor industry masterclass. Boom.
interesting.
Did
I've
all
never
that.
heard of that. Can I Google it? It's called
Yeah,
Masterclass.
I think
Yeah, right on.
am I thinking of the right thing? I think it's just called masterclass. And you could like people do one like on chess, for example, or I don't know, fencing or something, just random. I don't,
Yeah.
Niche things, yeah.
yeah. Here we go,
Interesting.
masterclass.com.
Okay.
Routes, art design, business, entrepreneurship, film, TV, food and drink, health, wellness. Yeah. I don't know.
I'll do
You're
a
the
thing.
guy for it for the
Food
filming
and
industry
drink.
for sure.
What's that?
Food and drink. Yeah.
Yeah,
Food and drink.
That's where the funniest stories are.
Doesn't hurt.
I can do two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, do two of them. There you go. Right on, guys.
Thanks for coming on, Mike. We'll
Thanks,
see
Mike.
see you in a couple
Appreciate
months
it.
here.
Yeah, I'll see you at Wausau, man. Thanks
Cool,
a lot for
absolutely.
having me. I appreciate it, guys.
We had a
Yeah,
blast.
Of course.
Take care.
We had a blast.
Take care.